Can you actually save $1,000 living on minimum wage? If you're only making $7.25 an hour, it might feel impossible, but I want to show you a couple of strategies and budgeting tips to help you put together a budget that works with your minimum wage income and allows you to save your first $1,000. Hi, I'm Jacob Wade from Lunch Money. I'm a financial coach, and today I want to show you how to create a budget if you're living on minimum wage and how to actually start saving money. I want to show you how much you're actually making, because we all know you're not actually making $7.25 because there's taxes involved. But then we'll talk about how to use that number to create a budget that works for you and your situation, and how to start stacking savings little by little. And stick around to the end because I want to show you how to put all of this together inside the Lunch Money app to make it really simple to track your spending, stick to a budget, and start saving money every single month. All right, before we can even dive into creating a budget for minimum wage, you need to know how much that actually is and how much you're actually taking home. So $7.25 an hour is roughly $2.90 a week, but yeah, it's not what your paycheck is. It's usually a little bit smaller. So if you're getting paid on Fridays, you're probably taking home closer to about $2.50 a week because of federal taxes. It might be even a little less if you live in a state that has state taxes. So roughly, you're making about $1,000 a month that you could actually use to create a budget on. So $1,000 a month is going to go at the top of your budget, and that's where you're going to make all of your budgeting decisions based on. That's the number we're going to allocate. And I just want to get the big one out of the way. Where you live and how much you pay for housing is going to determine whether this budget works or not. If you're making $7.25 an hour, you are probably not living outside of your family home. Most people that make minimum wage, even if you're working full time, can't afford rent in most markets, which is $1,200, $1,500 a month alone, or owning a home with a mortgage and taxes and insurance and maintenance and all of those things. So let's just assume that you're either living with family and maybe you're contributing a little bit to household expenses, or you're living with several roommates in a shared home or shared apartment. Now, if you're going to create a budget that actually works, you're going to have to severely limit how much you spend on housing. That will make everything else in the budget work. Unfortunately, if you only have $1,000 a month, you can really only afford about $400 a month to contribute towards shared expenses if you're living at home or as a roommate, renting a room in a home. So $400 a month, and that includes utilities, right? That's going to be the all-in costs for housing. And again, I know that feels very low because it is, and living on minimum wage, unfortunately, that's just the reality of what we live in, and that's how the numbers work. So you've got to find a way to get your housing and utility expenses down to around $400 a month or less. Again, if you're blessed to live with family or friends that are like, hey, no, don't worry, crash here until you increase your income, awesome. You can knock that $400 a month out. But if you're going to contribute or you're renting a room, $400 a month is going to be the maximum you can budget for that. All right, once you dial in your housing expenses, you can actually start to create a budget. Now, this is going to be a bare bones, essentials only type budget. There's not going to be a lot of exciting things in this budget because you really need to dial in your spending if you're only making $1,000 a month take home. So we talked about your rent or your housing costs with utilities. You got to keep that around $400 per month. The next largest line item is going to be your food expenses. You need food to live, but you got to live on as little as possible. So you're going to be able to allocate about $200 a month toward groceries. Now, the only way to actually do that as a single person is to do meal planning and meal preparation. So meal planning meaning, hey, before the week begins, I'm going to figure out what am I going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner or snacks. And then I'm going to shop around to find the deals at grocery stores. Is chicken on sale? Can I buy things in bulk at Costco and get grains and fruits and vegetables and other essential items at a low cost? So you really can only spend about $50 a week on your grocery bill, which can be very, very difficult in some markets. If you have to spend more, you're going to have to take the money out of somewhere else if you're going to want to actually save money. So the goal would be live on about $200 a month for your groceries. Again, in some places, if that has to be $300, we'll just find the money somewhere else inside your budget. So groceries is going to be a big one, and that requires very intentional planning and daily decisions to not blow that budget. All right, and then the next biggest cost is transportation. Getting to work and back is going to be essential and important, but unfortunately, if you're only taking home $1,000 a month, you can't really afford to have your own vehicle because the cost of maintenance and insurance alone is going to be over $100 per month, let alone gas costs and car payments and all of those things. So that's, unfortunately, you're going to have to set that aside until later, but you can find public transportation options to help you get to work and back. So a bus pass, or if you have people at work that you can carpool with together, you can do some shared expenses there. Unfortunately, you're not going to have a lot of room here. You only have about $80 to $100 a month to allocate toward your transportation budget overall. That includes everything. So you're gonna have to find a way to find low cost, again, city bus passes or things like that to make sure that you can get where you need to go, but you can afford it as well. All right, so outside of those three main essentials, we're going to talk about some other things like your phone. A cell phone basically is an essential at this point, but a cell phone with a data plan at a major carrier, and if you have to get a phone, loan for that phone, you make payments on it, it could be up to $100 a month or more. Luckily, there are some really, really good phone options. Prepaid carriers have gotten so much better these days. Places like Tello or Mint Mobile make it easy to get a $20 a month plan. So you can get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and then they have caps on how much data you can use. That's where they get you, but that's how you can save money. So if you can keep your data usage low and stay on Wi-Fi all the time, you could keep your cell phone bill at $30 a month or less. Now, these prepaid carriers do require that you bring your phone to them. You have to own your phone. If you don't already own that, they do have some lower cost options. But you can also go to places like swappa.com to buy a good used phone that's unlocked, maybe for $100 or $200, and then you can bring it to this prepaid phone carrier and lower your phone expenses by 60-70%. Okay, and then finally, essentials. Some household items, toiletries, things like that. You're gonna have to keep that budget pretty low, around $50 per month, but this is just going to be for the essentials only, the basics, the bare bones amount that you need to get by. And again, if you're living in a shared living situation or even living at home, that might already be included. But if you've got to buy your own, you got to keep the number very, very low. For toothpaste, things like that, about $50 a month is what you can allocate toward the essentials budget. Okay, and then finally, this might be controversial. If you're living on minimum wage, you might not think you're allowed to spend any money on anything fun. I think the opposite. You need to put some fun in your budget. Now, this is going to be a very low amount, about $40 a month, but if you put that money toward something fun, like maybe get a used book or go to coffee with a friend, or maybe you do take out just once a month, but those small little wins, the small little treats can keep you motivated to stick to your budget and going forward. If you have zero wiggle room at all, you can get very frustrated and start to maybe spend on a credit card or overdraft your accounts or start to go further into debt. So having a little bit of fun money in there, again, $30, $40, $50 a month for something that's a nice little treat can help you actually stick to your budget better. Okay, put those numbers together. You're going to have about $800 a month in expenses, which leaves you about $200 a month left over. Now, I don't think you should save that entire $200. What I believe you should do is take $100 a month and put it into a savings account and take $100 a month and leave it there as a buffer for your budget, because this is a very bare bones budget. Something is going to come up, and having a little bit of money in there will allow you to still hit your savings goal, but you've got a buffer, right? A $100 buffer there per month. So just keep that in there. And then finally, you can actually start to put some money into savings. Now, this is the next step. So you put together that budget, you start to stick to it, you make lots of plans and good decisions to stick to those numbers. The only way you actually save money is to get it out of your checking account. You don't want to leave it there. If you leave it in your checking account, you won't actually save anything. So what I recommend is to open a high yield savings account outside of your regular bank, something like Capital One 360 Performance Savings. They allow you to open an account and actually nickname it. So I would just nickname this Save $1,000 or $1,000 goal fund, or whatever you want to do to motivate you to put the money there. And when you know you have the $100 in your account allocated toward this, transfer it from your checking into that savings account and do not touch it. Don't look at it. Just let it be there. The goal of actually saving this $1,000, the only way to get there is to put it somewhere else and not touch it, because it's so much more tempting if it just sits in your checking account. You can actually automate the process. In some of these savings accounts, they allow you to set up what's called a recurring transfer. So let's say you've lived on this budget for a couple of months, you're actually sticking to it, and you know, okay, I'm going to have that $100 toward the end of the month. You can set up an automatic transfer at the end of the month that transfers $100 over right into that savings account. So then you don't even see it. It just happens whether you click the buttons or not. That money is moving to that savings account. So you can actually automate the process. Now, here's the math behind actually saving $1,000. Let's say you do save that $100 a month. It's going to take 10 months to get you to $1,000, but maybe life happens and you can't quite save that much and it's about, let's say, $50 a month. Well, it's going to take you twice as long, right? Take you almost 2 years to get to $1,000, about 20 months, assuming you're just living on minimum wage. Now, the numbers can change if you want to accelerate it by doing some of these budgeting hacks. Number one is to just sell things you don't need anymore. Sell stuff that you don't use anymore. My rule of thumb is if you haven't touched it in a year, you don't actually need the thing and it's just taking up space in your house. So list it on Facebook Marketplace, take a couple of nice pictures, put a little description in, get that thing out of your life. And you could sell things and start to bring in extra money. And whether that's Facebook or eBay or OfferUp or whatever that app is, doesn't matter. Just list it, sell it, get it out of your life and bring in some extra cash. Make sure that money goes straight to your goal fund, not into your checking account to get spent. Number two is to pick up some side hustle work. Again, I know you're already working full time, you're not making a ton of money, but you can find extra little side gigs. Maybe you can mow the neighbors' lawns, or you can dog sit for people. House sitting is a popular thing. You could drive for Uber or DoorDash, you can do deliveries. Whatever that is, you can take in a little bit of extra money and that will quickly start to fill up your savings account. And then a little known hack, if you get paid weekly, every couple of months, you have 5 Fridays. On the 5th Friday, that is money that you haven't allocated. That entire paycheck, say it's $250, should go straight to your $1,000 goal fund and not into your checking account to get spent. So boom, there's a bonus every couple of months right there that can go straight toward your savings goal. So here's an example of just how a little bit of extra money can make a huge difference. So let's say you do list a couple of things you don't need anymore, you sell them on Facebook Marketplace, you can make $100 just this week alone. And then maybe you finally fill out and complete your tax return and you get a refund. Maybe it's just a couple $100, say $300, but that money, again, can go straight into your savings account. And then let's say you do some dog walking once a week and you make $50 a week walking someone's dogs. That's an extra $200 this month alone. So very quickly, you can see you just made $600 in 1 month just doing a couple of these side things. And that more than halfway moves you toward your $1,000 goal. And that's really the key, is sticking to a good budget and then finding ways to bring in extra income to start stacking savings. Now, of course, here at Lunch Money, that is what we do. We want to help you with the budgeting part and the sticking to it part so you can actually put the money into savings. We have a free 30-day trial. There's a link below. You can just sign up. You can connect your financial accounts. We'll actually bring in the data from your transactions and show you, hey, here's where your money has been going. Here's where you top merchants and the top places that you've been spending. And you can break down and go, okay, I've been putting money here. Maybe that's a little bit of a waste. I can start to reallocate it here. And then you can quickly put together this essential bare bones budget, even on this $1,000 a month income, and show exactly how much you need to put into each category and then track it, and so that you have the money left over at the end of the month to actually put into savings. We'll help you track all of those things all in one place and make it super simple. So again, free 30-day trial, click the link below, you can sign up. And I actually want to show you how this works right here within Lunch Money. So I'm going to bring up my screen. I actually put together a quick little budget that shows how Lunch Money makes it really easy to create this budget. So what I did is I went in a setup here, and I actually went into categories and I put together fixed expenses, your basic bills, which is really just the housing and cell phone cost here, and then your daily spending categories, right? Groceries, transportation, household, fund money, and that buffer account. And then I put a goal. Let's save $100 per month, right? Now, if you go back into the finances section here and hit budget, you can see paycheck. Let's do 1,000, maybe not 1,150 here. And then we can start to put together the actual budget itself. We talked about $400 a month available for housing and about $30 a month for your cell phone. Again, some plans you can get down about $15 a month if you really, really want to get aggressive here on the cell phone side. For groceries, you have about $200 a month available. Transportation's about $80, households $50, fund money is $40. Now the buffer account, you're probably only going to have about $100 in the buffer account here. And then we're going to try to save about $100 per month, right? This is your save $100 goal account. You can see that nets out to $1,000 in expenses, which matches your income. So if you stick to this budget, then you can actually save $100 every single month and put it into a savings account. And what we like to do is we show you as transactions come through, we'll show you, hey, you just spent money on housing or you just spent money on groceries, here's how much you have left over, right? So if you have a grocery transaction that goes through and you spent $65 at the grocery store, you'll see that you only have about $135 left over. We'll show that in real time so you can keep yourself accountable. When you first get started on this budget, I would check in every day. Okay, what transactions went through my accounts? What is it categorized as? How much do I have left? So then when I go to the grocery store again, I know, oh, I've only got $135. Let me make sure I stick to my plan and stick to my list, right? You can keep track of every penny that goes out because at this point, every penny does matter. So I just want to show you quickly how easy it is to have Lunch Money put together a quick budget. You can see the numbers add up very quickly. You can track it in real time. And ultimately, that's going to help you stick to a budget, even if you make only $7.25 an hour. So if you want, there's a free 30-day trial. Click the link below, connect your accounts, create your budget real quickly just to match this one right here. And you can get started budgeting your money even on minimum wage. Now, creating a budget is step number one, but if you have debt to pay off on a low income, I put together an entire video right here on debt payoff strategies for those that don't make very much money. You can check it out right here.